A few years ago, I had recently moved to a new place. Big house with 6 bedrooms, built 100 years ago next to a church. It used to house young women or something of the like. Strange things occasionally happened, but were still pretty easy to brush off or explain, until one day my girlfriend and I were sitting on the floor in my room eating dinner. She sort of reclined and went to rest her head on her hand when she abruptly snapped and sat straight back up saying, No way. Nope, that didn't happen. I was obviously confused and tried to get her to tell me what happened, and though she was quite shaken, she eventually told me that the minute her head hit her hand, something whispered heavily and directly into her ear. She didn't understand what was said, just that it felt like there was someone's mouth less than an inch from her ear. I saw nothing, and it never happened again. She has convinced herself it didn't happen at all. For years ago, sometime around midnight, I woke up to knocking at my door. I was cautious, considering that we live in a pretty crime-ridden neighborhood in this section of town, so I carefully went downstairs and peeked out the window on the wraparound porch to get a glimpse of who was standing by the door. There was no one there. I thought that was odd. I guess I went back to sleep later on. A few days later, I decided to buy a security camera and I set it up to see if I could catch any more activity. The next morning, I woke up to a notification about movement at my door in the middle of the night. What happened during the video horrified me. A man in a black hoodie and sweatpants was just staring back at the camera. I froze. He stood there for well over an hour just looking at the camera, barely even moving before he turned around and walked away. I was frightened. But the fact that he stood there for so long like that was just insane. It wasn't until I watched this video later on that I noticed he had a machete in his hand. I reported the incident to the police, and he was later caught. I'm not sure why he was there, or what his intentions were, but they certainly weren't good, that's for sure. I've had the same recurring event happen in dreams over many years. I can sometimes lucid dream, but occasionally it involves dead relatives. That's how I know it's a dream. At the instant I realize it's a dream because of the dead relatives. A being, don't know what else to call it, pops in front of me and physically wakes me up, usually saying something along the lines of "you shouldn't be here." So my mom and I moved last year to be closer to my grandmother. That house we're living in has some very entitled neighbors who think it's okay to move furniture in the middle of the night. One time last summer, it got so loud I got up and was about to go in the hallway, but decided to ask my mom before that if she had heard the noise, too. I stood in the doorframe and whispered into her room, "Mom, are you hearing the noise too?" And get a whispered yes back. I then continue to ask if she's in the hallway and get a whispered no back. So I decided to go myself to find out where the noise is coming from. Only our door was open and there was my mother, standing a couple of stairs down from me. When I asked her why, she answered no. Although she was clearly standing there, she was very confused. She hadn't heard or said anything. I don't know what whispered back to me. So I spray pest control. Once a month we drive up the mountain and do a whole bunch of cabins. Most owners aren't there and just give us a code or a copy of the key. There's one cabin that is 100% haunted. It's in a creepy spot with a sketchy bridge. It's also at the end of the run every time, so we've been working about 14 hours at this point. The cabin has no electrical power, yet there are TVs, lamps, and a microwave. The whole setup is creepy, and there are a whole bunch of weird hand-drawn portraits along with a random angel doll that's hanging from the back of a closet wall. When you go up the very steep stairs, there is a very small closet with a trunk in it. Eventually we did open it, and there's some little girl's clothes in it. There's then a small hallway that leads to a very 50s style little girl's room. Without fail, every time I leave that room, a music box that's hidden somewhere starts playing the second I step into the hallway. Never before, never after. scares the hell out of me, and my boss makes me spray the inside alone every time as a joke.